Welcome everyone to ROCOreveal this evening. We're so excited for this special ROCOreveal that we're hosting, featuring ROCO's season 17 Composer-In-Residence and our longtime friend Derek Bermel and author Sandra Cisneros. And we're really excited to be hosting this tonight with Inprint Houston. And we've got Levy here, who is executive director of Inprint. And yeah, we're both going to be introducing our artists this evening. And he'll start off by introducing author Sandra Cisneros, who he also knows very well and they've worked with. All right, we'll get Rich on screen here.
Thank you, Greta. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. So glad we can be together virtually this evening. And
Me too,
I know that y'all worked with Sandra quite a bit, and she's on your advisory board with Inprint. So for those who don't know about Sandra and her amazing work, please tell us a little bit about her.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm going to steal a moment and just say a little bit about Inprint. You know, we're really thrilled to be partnering with you all at ROCO for tonight's event. Thank you, Greta. Thanks, Alicia. Thanks, Amy. For close to 40 years, Inprint, a Houston-based literary arts nonprofit, has been presenting the world's leading authors for adults and children, providing creative writing workshops for people of all backgrounds, and supporting emerging writers living and studying in Houston from different parts of the globe. We invite you to learn more at imprinthouston.org. Now, what a joy it is to introduce Sandra Cisneros. Poet, short story writer, novelist, essayist, performer. Her work explores the lives of the working class. Her many awards include a MacArthur Fellowship, NEA Fellowships in Poetry and Fiction, and the National Medal of the Arts presented to her by President Obama in 2016. She was also recognized among the Frederick Douglass 200 and won the Penn Nabokov Award for Achievement in International Literature. We are happy and very proud that she is a member of the Inprint National Advisory Council and has appeared twice in the Inprint Margaret Root Brown reading series in October 2002 with her Caramello, and in October 2015 with her celebrated memoir and nonfiction collection, A House of My Own. Her other works include the story collection Woman Hollering Creek. I'm going to go on for a minute, Sandra. Named for that body of water just east of San Antonio. The poetry collections My Wicked, Wicked Ways and Loose Woman. Her latest work of fiction, Martita, I Remember You, a story in English and Spanish. And of course, The House on Mango Street, a jewel-like collection of 44 vignettes documenting the funny, heartbreaking, honest, triumphant observations and reflections of 12-year-old Esperanza Cordero set in the barrio of Chicago. Since its publication in 1984, Mango Street has sold more than 6 million copies, been translated into 25 languages, is read in schools and universities across the US, and is part of the canon of coming-of-age classics. Please buy your copies of The House on Mango Street and Martita, I Remember You at brazosbookstore.com. Houston's excellent indie bookseller, Brazos is offering a 10% discount on both books through Friday. The discount code is Inprint. In addition to Sandra's writing, she has fostered the careers of aspiring and emerging writers, including many fine Texas authors through 2 wonderful nonprofits she founded, the Macondo Foundation and the Alfredo Cisneros del Moral Foundation. I love what Edwidge Dandikat has said about Sandra and her work. She writes, Sandra Cisneros makes me so happy that I am a reader, so joyful that she is a writer, and even more exhilarated that she is part of our world. Thank you, Sandra, for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Rich. This is fun.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you. Yeah, and you are in San Miguel.
I'm in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico.
Yeah, terrific. All right, Greta, back to you, right?
We're so excited to have you with us, Sandra.
Thank you.
And we're excited to also welcome Derek Bermel. He's an old friend of ROCO, and he is our season 17 composer in residence. And we are so thankful to the National Endowment for the Arts for helping to support his residency. And this includes the creation of a couple of new songs that we will premiere. Also, he'll be creating a solo percussion work for, I believe, Crotalis. Is that right? It's going to feature the Crotalis, I think, is what I've heard.
That's news to me, but okay, we'll put him in there.
Someone said that was involved. And then also a
Actually, it's for Cajon.
Oh, the box, right?
Oh,
Yeah, the box.
Yeah, in case, I don't know if anyone has seen that before, but it is a box that percussionists sit on and play. It's a special box. It's very cool. So you'll have to tune in and definitely see that when we do premiere it. Also, we're going to be doing an orchestral work by him in May, and it will be inspired by imagery of industrial scars, which is a photography collection by J. Henry Fair. So we're really, really looking forward to that. A little bit about Derek, for those that don't know him. He's a multi-award winning Grammy-nominated composer and clarinetist. He currently serves as artistic director of the American Composers Orchestra, and he's also curator of the Gamper Festival at the Bowdoin International Music Festival. He's also served as artist in residence for the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, and recently has served as composer in residence with the Seattle Symphony. He's also an avid educator and mentors young composers through American Composers Orchestra's many educational programs, such as Earshot and the Jazz Composers Orchestra Institute. And he directs the Copeland House's Cultivate Emerging Composers Institute. He also founded the New York Youth Symphony Composition Program, formerly known as Making Score. So that's a little bit about Derek. And we go way back with Derek. So our founder, Alicia, has talked about, y'all meeting each other, knowing each other, like at Banff Festival many years ago. And when ROCO started in 2005 in our first season, in our finale concert that season, we performed a really cool work by Derek called Natural Selection. So yeah, going way back, Derek. It's in our listening room as well. Super fun songs. I invite you to check those out sometime. And we were able to, work with him again and commission him as part of a National Chamber Orchestra Consortium commission for Murmurations. And this amazing piece was featured on our debut album, Visions Take Flight. It was actually chosen by our musicians as one of their favorite commissions to include. So yeah, that brings us to now, because I know we've wanted to work with you in a greater way for a while. So we're so excited that we were able to make this happen. And when we were talking about like what's going to be in this season, like what are we going to do with Derek? I believe you brought up, working with Sandra, and y'all already had this collaboration, and you've been, working on kind of workshopping this opera in progress, which is so exciting. And I would love to hear a little bit about, first of all, what's the beginning for you two? When did you meet, and how did you first begin working together?
I think Derek has to begin. Because,
Okay.
you're the one that approached me.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was the instigator. Well, those of you listening, I mean, most of you, well, first of all, there was that Texas connection with ROCO. So I'm glad that resulted in us being here tonight. But yeah, the book, The House on Mungo Street, is kind of a book that has stayed with me for so many years. And sometimes that happens, that there's just feels like the right opportunity. And what happened was that the Chautauqua Institute had commissioned a big piece. They wanted a piece that was going to be, that was going to use the orchestra, but also use, it's an institute in upstate New York, and they have a dance program, they have singers, they have actors, and they wanted a piece that was going to be a multi-arts piece that was going to use all the different aspects of all the different people up there. So they asked me for a piece like this, and I tried to think of what could I base this on, what kind of work would be special like that, and also be a work that I would want to sit with for a long time and think about, and that I could set to music, and that we would have dance. And so I thought about the house on Mongo Street because it's just stayed in my head for so long. And so I went back to that work. I went to lots of works. I reread lots and lots of books, but that work just kept staying with me. And I went back to it, and I thought, well, if I could get the permission from the author, Sandra Cisneros, then I'd be lucky to work with her text. So then my people got in touch with her people, and it went like that. And I got back a very nice note from her agent, and so.
Yeah, but you forgot.
Maybe I should throw that to you.
You forgot the part where you sent me your music because
Yeah.
I didn't know
Well, you wanted to hear some music, which is understandable, you know.
And I remember I was in the kitchen because I don't listen to music in my home because there's music going on in my head when I'm creating sentences. And I was in my kitchen with my boombox. Yes, I have a boombox. And I remember putting the CD in there, and I heard some other arrangement that you had made. It was one of your CDs. I can't remember what you sent me. And I remember that my eyes just flooded with tears. And I thought, wow, I can visualize House on Mongo Street with this soundtrack. And it would have that sense of lyricism and emotion, but with music. And I remember thinking, wow, this is great. This man's terrific. I want to work with him. So that's part maybe you didn't know of the story. I had to jump in. Sorry, you can go ahead.
Oh, that's nice. Well, so then I just I was really excited, and I set to work setting these songs, and I had my book, and I brought this just because we were talking about it earlier. But what I would do is I'd read the chapters, and then I would start to make little notes, literally notes like that, and with the words underneath them, and little chords above, and just notes of the scale, just a sketch, and that would give me an idea how I might set them as I go. And so the whole book is full of these little sketches that are in this original book that I had as I was trying to figure out which ones might work best. And then so we got about 7 or 8 of these arias, songs, and then I started orchestrating. But before I wanted to orchestrate, I wanted to play them for you. So kind of did a risky thing, which is to go down to Texas while you were there with your posse, and play them for you.
Piano, I don't have one, and I can't bring one. So we had to find someone who had a piano, and it was in the middle of the Texas heat, like August or something. Remember that? It was really.
Oh yeah.
And you can go
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, so we had the performance, and it was great. You came. We worked with the folks up at Chautauqua. We all had a good time. The conductor, Ross Milanov, Deborah Moore. It was really exciting. The theater people, the dance people, and then after that we met up in New York, and I thought about it, and I thought, wow, it would be so cool to make an opera out of this, because we just had this one experience working with the text, but it felt powerful. And I thought, this is a piece that should be in every opera house. This is such an important work, and I see it as a kind of major American work that should be known by opera audiences. And it feels like the character of Esperanza reminds me of so many people, including myself sometimes. And I just think that's so important, when you can see some aspect of yourself in a work. And I think a lot of people see themselves in this work that don't get to see themselves on the opera stage. So anyway, so I popped the question. I said, would you write an opera? And then
And I remember thinking, I don't know how to write a libretto. I told you if someone would help me. But then I met a librettist, and he said, wait a second, you're a poet, aren't you? I said, yeah, you are a librettist. I thought, oh, okay. So but you've been helping me a lot. You've been jumping into the text, maybe less than I would like. And I've been jumping into the music maybe more than you would like. So we've really been collaborating.
No, but that's, it was like we were saying. Beatles moved out. And then as a composer by yourself, you sit around a lot of hours, spend a lot of hours by yourself, or sometimes, with a cat perched on my lap somewhere or something. But I'm kind of by myself a lot, the art of and the act of collaboration is so important because you become more than the sum of your parts as you're working together. So that's very special, those times when we can work together, because I feel like I grow.
I also feel like we're just like, have a lot of fun. And that's why great collaboration, because it is very lonely writing and exhausting when you're by yourself and you don't know if something you've written is brilliant or a piece of crap. You don't know right away. But if someone else is there, they'll say, well, maybe not that line. And that's good to have that immediate feedback. Oh yeah, that's no good. Scratch that. So that's great to have that right away. And I think for artists, when you're working on something that's so fresh, especially in a new genre, you need to have a close friend that you trust that tells you what's great and what's not so great.
Great. That's really awesome to hear. I mean, the enthusiasm y'all both have and how you enjoy working together so comes through just watching you talk. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about Mango Suite and the original Chautauqua commission. It was premiered in 2017 by the Chautauqua Institution and their forces, their orchestra of theater dance. And there is a wonderful video online if anyone wants to check out any more excerpts from Mango Suite. And so the original Mango Suite basically included how many songs?
I think there were about 6 or 7, something like that. Yeah. But I just want to say that wasn't really a collaboration, because that was really me setting Sandra's work. And that's so different than when you're collaborating, because then things change and they shift, and you make changes to things.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
We are doing. Yeah, one of those songs we are going to do, A House of My Own. And this is such a gorgeous song. I know when I first heard it, it brought tears to my eyes. Just the combination of the longing, the beautiful text that Sandra wrote, of the character Esperanza, who just wants a place to put her shoes, a place for her petunias to grow, a place that's her own. And the way Derek set the text is just gorgeous, soaring melodies and very, very sweet. And this is, what a beautiful inspiration, I think, for, to base an opera off of. Just the idea that, you've got this song and thinking about, when he set the text and that this is the beginning of this collaboration where he asks you to collaborate on the opera. And yes, I just want to hear a little bit more about sort of what that means with that moment in Esperanza in the book.
So second to the last chapter in the book, it's right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, but this was very early as to what Derek presented me. And I guess we're going to hear a little clip of it so that the audience can get a sense. So he had already gone into my book and lifted my text where he heard music, because I heard music too, but I was writing what I call lazy poems. That's what I called House on Mongo Street when I was writing the book. I was in the poetry workshop, and I was fooling around writing these little vignettes that weren't going to be part of my thesis. So I would call them lazy poems, because I knew they had the lyricism of poetry and I could hear it. And I guess Derek heard it too. And he created from some of these lines a song that we're going to hear. Are we going to hear it now?
Yes, actually, I
Good.
do have a clip ready here, and I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, I should say that's Michaela Bennett singing and Aaron Wunsch playing piano.
Okay, wonderful. All right.
Beautiful, beautiful performance.
flat, not an apartment in back, not a man's house, not a daddy's, a house on my own, with my porch and my pillow, my books and my stories, a house on my own, a house on my own, with my porch and my pillow, my pretty purple petunias, a house on my own, with my books and my stories, my two shoes waiting beside the bed, a house of my own.
Right. Gorgeous. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And everyone should go hear the rest of the song as well when you get a chance. But yeah, I can't wait to hear the two new songs y'all been working on too. This is very, lyrical and beautiful, but the rest of Mango Sweet, some of the other things are jazzy, or really up tempo and fun. I mean, it's a lot of different moods that, are in the Mango Sweet that you've created so far. So I'm curious, the two new songs you're creating, what are those like, and what texts are you going to be working with? It's something new, I understand.
Well, those were just, we had this idea to have Cece sing. And so it was more just kind of, I was choosing from things that Sandra and I were working on that were in her range. And, we just wanted, it was like Cece, who's somebody I think that ROCO's worked with before, who's a singer in, that right there in and Alicia, as many of you know, is the executive and artistic director of ROCO, and she really wanted to work with Cece, and so I said that's great, because Sandra and I are writing new songs all the time, so whatever seems to work, and I think these two fit her range, and so but these are songs that are really, these are things that as we go we're writing. There's lots of material being generated, and so, for example, one of them is what I would call a regret song. That one is called Once, and a number of characters sing songs about once, and they sing about their regrets. These aren't in the book. This is not in House of Mungo Street. These songs, these are new songs being created. So these are new texts, and they're being created around the libretto. And so that song is really about regrets, and it's sung by, this is a particular one of the Once songs that's sung by Ruthie, who's one of the characters, one of the adults. Because in the book you hear a lot about, as Sandra was saying, you hear a lot about the kids, but you don't hear so much about the adults. And then the other song is a song called Sit Out Bad, which is sung by Esperanza, and it's sung at a very crucial moment when she's, because it's really kind of coming of age song as she tries to grapple with all these issues that are happening, how her body is changing, how she's feeling about love and the things that she lacks in her life and what she'd like to see in her life, and torn between childhood and adulthood, which is so much of the book.
I wonder, would you both talk about, this so far you've talked about songs, and the book has got an arc to it, definitely, but it is kind of a suite. And how do you see it coming together as an opera, if you don't mind talking about that a little bit? Sandra, you know, I know you have the most well-defined sense of what the narrative arc of all this is, and or maybe you're just discovering it yourself, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, well, we had to like flatten it out, you know, because the way that the book operates, you know, it goes into impressions. It's very impressionistic. And suddenly we had to build something I'm not strong at, a plot. And I thought, oh no. And you know, I'm okay about, you know, if you let me delve into a character and go deeper and go into the background. So we're still constructing what we hope is the what's it called, Derek, the arc that Corey has us working on. We're still hammering and getting our thumbs hit by the hammer, but we're building it, and we're almost there. But we did have to develop and pull characters out and fade some away. You can't have everybody. But on the other hand, we also added a chorus. And you know, they're in the book, but they're not exactly there. So, you know, we added a Greek chorus of the neighbors, because every neighborhood I ever lived in, you always had people in the window, usually women, behind screens, behind knotted curtains, behind security bars, behind doorways, all looking out and saying, "Oh, look what time she came home. Oh, why is he getting in that car? That's not his car. Well, you should get in here now." You know, so we have the Greek chorus made up of the neighbor ladies for the most part. You know,
and they're all Greek. They're all Greek.
they're all speaking in Spanish
Like
and English,
Victoria.
Polish, or whatever language, because you know, Humango Street is not a Latino neighborhood; it's a mixed neighborhood, and you have all these characters from different. This is what's great, because you can do very diverse casting, which is the way we've developed the story. We've brought in characters like Zita, the dog lady, characters that aren't in the book, but they're in my mind. So we got to develop and bring them into the background and bring things up to the years we're living in now, rather than looking at the story at the time that I wrote it, but bringing it up to current issues. And it's amazing how, even though I wrote it when I was 21 and finished it when I was 28, that it's still relevant to themes now that I'm just turned 67. So it's sad that these issues are still unresolved. And we've been having a wonderful time exploring and saying, well, what about this? Or can, you know, I appreciate Derek, because he knows a lot more about contemporary song and contemporary lyrics than I do, to bring the story up to date. And we hope it has the arc. We haven't workshopped it yet. That's something we'll be doing this summer. We're still adding scenes, and we are at that stage where sky's the limit, because it's all in our imagination. There's no budget yet. And we hope that, you know, from this body of work that's almost done, Derek's coming to my house next week, right, Derek? You're coming to Mexico so that we can finish it. And we're just almost there. Maybe somebody else will tell us we're not done, but we think we're almost done.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a process, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just watching, like, for the third time, the documentary of the Beatles, Get Back. And I was saying, you know, that collaboration between Paul and John, that was really great. I need Derek to be my John and come in and say, well, that line could be better, because he's been very respectful. And I'm thinking,
Don't quote her on that. But,
how come he doesn't push me? And so I'm hoping next week that he will release his John Lennon and push me a little bit further, because sometimes when I give him the lines, I think, is that any good? You know, but it's been really a great collaboration, because I'll come up with a line, and you're very good, Derek, about coming in and having sometimes a better line. And I'll say, yeah, let's put that in there. So I'm having a lot of fun working with Derek, because he's very well read. He's very funny. And I think he's a closet poet because he comes up with great lines. Maybe, I don't know. But I know I'm not a musician, but we're having a great time together.
We have fun. Yeah.
We
That's
have
important
fun.
because I do think a lot of making art is about play. It's about releasing your mind to come up with, not having it in the straitjacket of everyday life, like making lists that I got to go to the store, I got to do this, I got to make these phone calls, I got to check email, I got, like life is full of these things you have to do, and then you can't release yourself to have fun. So that's the thing about allowing yourself that space to play, which is so much a part of it.
I think that that's what we do when we're creating. We have to be in that play mode, in order to try anything. And the great thing, as I said, working with you, if it's not a great line, you come up with something better, and then we can just keep going. I don't have to have all this angst over it or wait till someone else looks at it. It's really great having you right there. And I'm also very free to tell you when I think that the melody is not quite right. It doesn't fit in.
Right. Yeah, which really helps. I mean, that's the thing is also, so much about art is decision making. It was really driven home. Once I had a student who was actually from Colorado, and unfortunately she was in the movie theater when this guy came in with a gun and sprayed, and she was hit in the head, and a bullet went into her brain. And I went to visit her about 9 months after, and she had almost completely recovered, which was incredible. But when we went to a restaurant, she couldn't choose what to eat. She could not choose. And she said that the thing that got messed up in her brain was the executive function, which allows her to make decisions. And I said, how is your composing? And she said, I can't compose because I can't make decisions. And I thought that was so interesting because, when you think about making art, it's full of making decisions. And here she was almost incredibly, miraculously recovered. But the one thing she couldn't do was she couldn't decide what to pick on a menu, and she couldn't choose what note to put in her composition. So it was hampering her from composing, although she could do lots of other things. She could drive a car.
You have to read Oliver Sacks.
Yeah, right.
All that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple of great questions in chat. We did invite our watchers, and we have quite a few, to ask questions. And one had to do a little bit with some things that we're talking about workshopping this project, which is sort of, when do you maybe expect that the opera would be performed or finished? Or maybe you don't have any idea yet, but people are anxious, of course. They would love to hear.
More anxious than we are. Derek?
Well, this summer we get a chance to hear it because we were really lucky that Chautauqua Institute stepped up again, and their incredible director Deborah Moore and their opera director Stephen Osgood, they're gonna put it on this summer as a workshop and kind of public reading and documented. So it's really exciting that they're putting more life into it, and it gives us, we need deadlines. There's nothing like a deadline to get you to kind of deliver something by a certain date. So all musicians know that, and all writers know it, I guess. So it gives you something to not make and go slightly past, but then eventually get it in, because it's really important that we have these markers. So we're gonna get a chance to hear the whole thing with piano vocal, not orchestrated. But I think it'll give us a real sense of the arc of the piece and what's working and what might be, what we might want to shift. But it's a long process to do a big theatrical work like this. So we're really lucky.
It's great that y'all do have so much fun together, because creating an opera is, it's a monumental project. So, but
And that's on August 12th.
That's
in case anybody wants to fly up to Chautauqua and swim in the nice lake there and go see the Amish people who live nearby and see the mystics who live in the town nearby, you can come up to Chautauqua and you can see the reading of this piece.
We have one other question. which is, oh, well, somebody just asked related to the Chautauqua performance, will it be recorded? But it sounds like it might just be something that you would need to see in person if you're really interested. Is that correct?
I think it'll probably be recorded, you know, because they'll probably make a recording, and I don't know if it'll be public, but it'll be, at least we'll be able to see it. And if you're really nice to us, maybe we'll let you see a peek at part of it. So,
And
Well,
another question is the score, as you know, we've heard just a house of my own, but again, I mentioned some of the other stuff that was in Mango Suite. There's a lot of different influences, and is the score in general strongly inflected by Mexican music? Someone asked that.
well, Sandra, I don't know, you want to.
I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Is the score strongly inflected by Mexican music?
I would say no. I would say that it's, you know, if a character is Tex-Mex from the border, as two of the characters are, the girls Lucy and Rachel, then the music, we try to get something from that region. And it has to be like, we're still searching for that music for Lucy and Rachel, right? I said it has to sound like the La Pulga, you know, the flea market conjunto bands you hear on Sunday. So, you know, I've been very specific sometimes about asking Derek, you know, can we get this kind of music? These characters are from the Rio Grande Valley. And then sometimes he's just gone off and, you know more than I, the sources of the different places, but I don't see it as, I think it's kind of international, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it has a lot of different influences. I mean, I would say in general, you know, I Latin music has always been something that comes very much into my kind of musical sphere, and I listen to a lot of Latin music. So so I think it creeps into some of the songs and some of the rhythms. Like there's a lot of salsa rhythms, some merengue, some you know, and even maybe son jarocho or something. But I think the Tejano music is something that I need to work on. You know, this is where you really learn as you go into an opera and you're trying to bring out what's unique about each character. You know, you're just that. So I'm learning. I'm listening to all kinds of artists, and that's one of the things that's exciting about working on a piece like this, because you grow as an artist. You take in more music, and you try to you know, you try to reflect the world around you, and as best you can through your own lens, and of course, you know, Sandra's lyrics just kind of sing naturally. So almost everything that you write, I think, just sings naturally. So it's always pointing in that direction, and maybe that's because you often speak and perform your own poetry.
Well, it's certainly influencing my writing now, like working with you and doing the songs has made me have a little more courage about writing poems that I call songs. That's part of the new collection coming out this September, is a book of poetry called Woman Without Shame. And there's a couple of poems in there that are songs. They're called songs, cantos, or songs, a song for guitar, or, you know, a song to the tune of, and a lot of it got influenced from working with you, Derek. I wonder if you knew that. I need to put you in acknowledgements. I'm just remembering.
No, but that's great. I mean, and you know, a song, you know, it's just, I was listening to this really wonderful singer-songwriter the other day from Mexico, and she was talking about what is a song, you know, what is that? And she said, well, you know, I read a lot of poetry, and that helps me write songs. And so similarly, I think, you know, for a writer, you might, you know, listening to music might do something else, might also help you write songs. Artists, I mean,
I don't do it that often, but when I do, Derek, you know, when I listen to your music, or the musicians that I admire, or the singers I admire, they remind me, this is the target. This is what I'm trying to get at. I want to write like this. So you inspire me.
Oh, well, that's nice. I mean, it should be, you know, I think it's such a magical, art is such a weird thing. Sometimes I look at things I did years ago and I think, I don't even really remember the feeling of doing that, but I guess I did it. It's here, it's sitting in front of me, or I almost feel that it inhibits the people who are performing it more than it inhabits me anymore. You know, it was a certain point in my life, and I have to really push back to get to that point again, where I'm feeling that again, you know, the initial feeling that I had when I was writing it. So yeah, well, it's I mean, I brought this just to show you where it goes after. This is a house of my own, actually. This was my original sketch for it. And here you see, you know, the vocal line. Now it's written out with the words underneath it. And then there's a sketch of the piano with chords underneath as I'm starting to work on things. And every now and then I actually wrote down something, you know, pretty specific in the piano part. But otherwise, it's really, it's almost like the architecture of a house, you know, as you work on it. And it's kind of weird how it comes together, and then it starts to talk to you and tell you what it wants to be. And then as a composer, I'm just listening, I'm trying to tune in and say, oh, I hope I can hear this before it goes away, before that voice goes away.
Yeah. When you're reading her work, especially with the new things that y'all are creating, is the music coming first or the text, or is it really coming at the same time? How is that going in the process?
I feel like, you know, we talked about what a scene needs, why we need a scene, where's it going. And, you know, sometimes we'll go back, this is missing a bridge here. And then I'll say, okay, I know what what the character has to say and what we need here. So I'll write something, then I'll send it to Derek and I'll say, Derek, is this any good? You know, prune it as you like. Like if I gave him a tree and he's going to cut it into the shape of an elephant or a star or whatever he imagines, I just give him a lot and say, you know, edit. If it's no good, tell me, edit as you see fit. Is it any good? And he's always really so wonderful about saying, yeah, that's good. And, you know, he'll come back. Can I change this? I was like, yeah, you know. So it's almost like I give him this shapeless tree, and he trims and creates music with it and moves things around a little bit. Is that right, Derek?
Well, I mean, I see it kind of like I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to hear it. And so as I hear it, you know, I'm trying to listen to it, you know, listen to them and have it speak to me. So so that's how I experience it, like the poem is speaking to me. The words are talking to me, and some of them shout louder than others, some of the phrases. And then I say, oh, that's a phrase that's going to be the core of the aria or of the chorus, or this is something the chorus might say, you know, this is like the back and forth. This is the call and response. You know, here's something that's a beautiful metaphor. And, you know, so those are things that, and I'm just trying to listen to what it's telling me from the page, like it's speaking in a voice, sometimes obviously speaking in many voices. And so, so I'm trying to listen for what's the strongest call, you know, and sometimes that becomes the core of the song. And sometimes I can't decide how to set something. So, I mean, just going back to the house of my own, you know, I remember I heard a house of my own, but then I also heard a house of my own. And then I heard a house of my own. So that first one has a very final feel, a house of my own, it goes down. And then the second one, a house of my own, goes out, you know, into the wilderness, or into the, you know, the ether. And then a house of my own feels like it needs to move on to something else. So all of those different settings came into the song at different points in the song, even though they don't do that in the actual novel. You know, it's only said once. But for me, it needed to be said multiple times. So that's where, you know, you start to pull out of the shape of the text a little bit and into the shape of a song or an aria, you know.
I'm so jealous of this collaboration, to be perfectly honest with you. I wish I could have somebody I could send things back and forth and play with like this. It's fantastic, really, and exciting. Very exciting.
Fun.
Yeah. There's one more question we want to ask you from the chat. And Sandra, someone is asking, what are your literary projects currently besides the poetry that you've been writing? And of course, this beautiful libretto. What else are you working on?
I have a book that I just finished that came
Martita.
out in September, Martita, I Remember You, that flips over and I can reach over and show it to you. Hang on a second.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it's also set in Paris, which is wonderful. Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
flip it over and it's translated so beautifully by Liliana Valenzuela. And so that's new. And then I have a new book of poetry coming out in the fall, Woman Without Shame, which is like, 30 years of my poems that have
Oh,
been,
beautiful.
I've been
Well, that'll
stuffing
be
under the
great. All right. Yeah. Taking them out from under the bed. This is good.
people, editors have brooms and they say, get out of there. And so I've been able to finish things. Fortunately, with the cancellation of all my speaking engagements, I was able to finish it. And
Mhm.
but as I said, because I'm working on the opera alongside poetry, it's allowed a new musicality in some of the poems. And I don't know if I've ever said that to you, Derek, but I certainly am. I'm saying it now, and I'm going to put it in the acknowledgements that the liberation of working with a composer has allowed me to hear in my head poems that I wrote specifically as songs. And then my brother, Henry Cisneros, not that Henry, my brother Henry, is a composer also and a musician, and he performed some of my song poems. So I feel as if I've been lucky to be given the freedom of working with an artist in another genre that has inspired and schooled me and pushed me along to a new level. So I hope that's in the poetry.
That's really nourishing and wonderful. Sounds great. Well, we look forward to the new book.
Thanks for
And to
asking.
the opera. And to
Yes,
the
we
opera.
can't wait for the new book and the opera. Someone asked, if y'all had any idea if it would be a shorter, like a 1 hour opera, or a longer, maybe 2 to 3 hour, or.
Derek, do you know?
I don't think 3 hours. I don't really want to sit for 3 hours, so I don't, not even to see my own opera. So, I mean, I'm not I give Wagner all the props, well, some of the props, but I don't, I think we're kind of aiming around at 90 minutes. But we have to just see where it settles and what the budget is, I guess. But we'll see where it feels right. And but that feels like about the right length to me. And I don't know.
I want to just see kids coming to the opera because as a kid, my mom took me to operas, but I didn't know operas were sung in buildings. I thought you always went to the park and heard them, or where I heard them at the Grand Shell.
Grand Park Grand Shell. Yeah.
No idea there was.
Went there as a kid myself. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a lyric opera house. I
Mhm.
didn't know if my mother had any money, she certainly wasn't going to take us to the lyric opera house.
No.
But we went to Grand Park and we'd have a little picnic and mother would say, go over there and play. And she would listen to, arias but we would absorb them too. And then later my mother would bring home records and we might hear the whole opera. We weren't sitting there. We were running around doing other things, but we were absorbing that music. So I like the idea of school children and high school students and grandma and moms and people who have not felt like they're invited or to the opera to feel welcome, because I wrote House with the whole idea of people feeling welcomed. There's a neighborhood that I want everyone to feel comfortable. I don't want them to feel afraid. I want them to feel this at home on Mungo Street. And I think that, working with Derek, who's just doing such phenomenal things like having the characters, the young people, the young boys sing some lyrics in hip hop, and having Lucy and Rachel, the Texan girls, sing songs that sound like a conjunto band from the Sunday flea market, and having the neighbor ladies behind their windows saying, "Oh, what you doing there? I'm watching you. I'm gonna tell your mom." It's so great to see that and imagine it on stage as opera. I know my mother, who was a great lover of opera, is smiling at this project, and I hope will give us wings so that we can finish it, Derek.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being our
Thank you
guests
both.
this evening.
Thank
Yeah,
you
it's just been a
both.
fantastic conversation, and hearing about how you're working together is so inspiring, how the creative energy is truly going back and forth. And you know, we can't wait to hear it. ROCO's all about
Yes.
access, and when we do premiere these two songs, they'll be live streamed, so you will be able to hear that. So stay tuned for when we're doing that. And yeah, you know, we can't wait. And thank you so much, Rich, for joining us this evening. And I
My
wanted to
pleasure.
mention that
Yep.
our friends at Browse's Bookstore do have a discount in conjunction with this event on Sandra's The House on Mangrove Street, and also Martita, I Remember You, 10% discount with the code Imprint. So be sure to take advantage of that by the end of the week. So
And come
And
to,
La
There.
Casa en Mango Street in Espanol.
yeah,
Thank you all for the plug. Thank you, Imprint.
also available with the discount. So there you go.
yes.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your week, y'all, and everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Sandra, I'll see you in a few days.
See you in a few days.
And we can't wait to see you
Hasta
both in
pronto.
Houston. So
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I look
Yeah.
forward to
okay.
it.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.